Did you fuck up your build? Did you get baited by some random YouTuber? Or maybe you just don't have enough currency to buy that 1 or 2 items that you need to make the build actually work? Well, worry not, because right here, right now, I have 5 strategies you can do in white maps and 1 bonus one for you to be able to rebuild your character, farm for another, or buy those few pieces of gear. The very first one is going to be Legion. You are going to need some Atlas points for this, so hopefully you've completed some maps already. If you haven't, we have strategies that work without that, so just go ahead and wait for those. But the first one, Legion, is really fun, especially on builds that have good clear, but just don't have enough defense or damage to push into red maps, and especially to farm red maps in addition to their altars. Like I said, Legion needs some Atlas points. You're going to want every single point that gives a chance for splinters to turn into emblems. Alongside all the other nodes you want to get are going to be a lot of Atlas points, so you'll just have to keep that in mind. Pretty much with the Legion strat, you're taking every single Atlas node that isn't the ones that spawn the generals. Every other Legion one you will take. Now, why is Legion so good for generating currency? Well, first of all, it drops lots of bubblegum currencies and bubblegum items. You are going to drop lots of random currency. You're going to get fossils. You're going to get random 6-link drops that you'll either be able to sell if it's a usable base or vendor for 20 fusings. You'll get 6 sockets if you're still that early into the game where you're going to be picking those up, vendoring them, etc. You'll get random div cards. Sometimes you'll get divines to drop from the currency chests. Just, straight up, you'll get chaos, you'll get divines. You're going to get stuff like stacked decks that you can sell as well, especially when you're using those diviner incubators. You're going to get stacked decks from those, and then you'll want to sell those, right? Do not open your stacked decks, okay? You better sell those. If you're poor, do not gamble. Sell the stacked decks. Do not open. You're also, as a side kind of hustle, getting some emblems to drop, which you can sell as sets on the TFT. Now, emblems kind of blow as far as currency goes past the first few days, but that's totally fine because Legion still makes pretty good currency outside of the emblems, right? With all of the sergeants, all of the war hordes, having all of those rewards, you get a lot of stuff. And if it doesn't really feel like it, you need to use like a currency tracking tool, and you got to keep an eye on like the random stack decks that you're getting, all those random fossils. Like these are all things that have value, right? Even the worst fossil can be sold for like 1/3 to 1/2 of a chaos, no matter what, right? So when you're getting like 50, 100 plus, that's fine, right? You got like 50, 100 plus chaos, you were broke. That's pretty big. Now, this requires a pretty strict filter because really the only splinters you're going to want to pick up are going to be stacks greater than 1 of Templar and Mariketh. You don't ever want to be picking up even single splinters for Mariketh and Templar. I don't do anymore unless the emblems are worth, like, geez, 80 chaos, something around there. Like, sure, dude, I'll pick up 0.8 chaos. But this league emblems in Crucible, they were like 20C, 18C. I think they got down to like 15 at one point. I am not picking up 1 splinter 100 times to make 15 chaos. It is not worth my time, and it isn't worth yours either. So stricken that filter up. You could just go very strict on Neversink and hide all those crappy splinters, and that'll be good enough. And then, yeah, you just want to use your incubators. You want to hide the bad ones as well. That's another thing you want to stricken up your filter for is the incubators. So the good incubators are the ones that very obviously give good rewards. These are things like diviner incubators, which gives stacked decks, the ornate incubators, which give currencies, the geomancers, which give 6 links, the Kalgurin incubator, which is the expedition symbol, the little blue kind of swirly thing. Those will give like exotic coins, burial medallions, all that good stuff, and that sells for pretty good currency. So you want those to be the ones that you're using and picking up. So the second strategy that we're going to talk about is going to be Bestiary plus essences. This is yet another strategy, worry not, that needs some Atlas points. You're going to have made it probably into yellow maps at least a little bit before you can get here, and if you're not already spec'd into some essences or Bestiary stuff, you're going to have to respec for this one. But this is a very, very good one, as it's actually best run in white maps, especially the Bestiary stuff, because you can get more beasts from red maps, but those beasts you can get aren't as good as the ones that you can already obtain in white maps. So it kind of dilutes the pool of the beasts that you can get and makes it worse. So it's actually much better to run on white maps. And with essences, the essence tiers don't depend on map tier or color. So you're always getting the same level of essences and you're getting better quality beasts in white maps than you otherwise would. So this is a very good strategy for white map farming. And it was a great one this league because there was essences on the map device. Now, if we're in a league where there isn't essence on the map device, this one definitely kind of goes down a lot. And that's not to say that essences won't be valuable, because if they're not on the map device, people are still going to really want them and they'll be worth a little bit more, but it won't be so easy to farm so many. And you have to keep in mind too that some leagues will have very expensive beasts. So Crucible was a league where beasts got very pricey towards the end because of how important it was to be imprinting for Crucible trees and for all the other stuff you need imprints for and all the other beast crafts. So it is kind of reliant on a league per league basis. So I would keep an eye out on the Maxwell articles to let you know when it's really good. But yeah, this is just a real nice one for Elk and Go in white maps. This is great if you've kind of rolled into a second build and you have some currency, but you don't really have enough to get that second like juicer build up and running in red maps yet. You can use whatever currency you have left to kind of transition into this strategy. And as long as your build is playable, you will be able to do essences and bestiary in white maps because they're so much easier than they otherwise would be in red maps. Now, on to the third strategy. This is one that doesn't require any Atlas points at all, and that's because it is Heist. Now, do not dock leave. Do not dock leave, okay? If you're new to this game, or if you've never interacted with Heist before, I really do recommend it. It's kind of fun for your first time through. Now, for me, I don't like Heist because I played through Heist League, and it was a long league, and there was a lot of heisting that league, and I grew very tired of the heisting. So it's not for me anymore. But there is that kind of general stigma. Just ignore all of that, and if you like it, then blast on, dude, because it is a really good currency strategy. It's just a lot of people didn't like Heist during Heist League, or they got sick of it afterwards, so they just don't do it anymore. That's all it is. But yeah, it's really easy to get into. It doesn't require any Atlas points. The setup can be done while you're kind of unlocking things. So they'll give you a first contract to do, and then you kind of get like another contract. These are like quest contracts. When you're first going to this area, you've got to do that to unlock this guy. And to unlock all the other heist people for this like little heisting syndicate down there in the Rogue Harbor, all you have to do is do a contract with the last person that came along with you. So I believe the first guy is Karst. You'll do a lockpick contract with Karst. Then he'll bring along a friend named Huck. Well, after you do this lockpicking contract with Karst, then you're going to do whatever contract you can with Huck. And Huck will bring along a friend like Tibbs or something. And after you do the Huck contract, then you'll do a contract with Tibbs. And it keeps going so on and so forth until you have every single heist member unlocked. Now, you can also buy contracts at the Rogue Harbor for chance orbs. And that's a really easy way to just get a bunch of random contracts and get started with it. And every time you level up, you'll get some new contracts as well. So it's also very nice to be doing while you're a lower level, while you're not like level 90 plus already, because you'll be able to get a new fresh supply of contracts. Otherwise, you will have to buy contracts from other players, but that's really easy to do on TFT. You can generally, like even on day like 2 or 3, buy bulk random contracts for a half chaos to 1 chaos each. You just buy a bunch of random contracts, and that's an easy way to get yourself started out. So once you have all those people started out, unlocked, etc., you've got a little bit of currency, you did some random contracts, they're leveled up enough, then you can buy the good contracts. And these are going to be lockpicking, which generates currency as its main reward, which is really nice. And you'll bring along Karst for that, picking up, you know, all the little small chests and whatnot, trying to get lucky, etc. And then there is deception and perception. So deception contracts are the very good ones because you'll run these with Gianna. And when you run these with Gianna and you complete this contract, you're going to get extra blueprint reveals. And in addition to blueprint reveals, which we'll talk about later, you're going to get stacked decks, which is also why you would run perception. Now, perception doesn't give you the extra reveals, but it still has that stacked deck reward. And if you don't know, we talked about it in a Legion strategy. Stacked decks are really good to sell. They're 1 chaos plus each, no matter what, because when you pull a random card from the stacked deck, it can be any div card, and that can be an apothecary. It could be, you know, some really crazy stuff that's worth a lot, but don't even think about it. Don't think about it. Just sell them, okay? You're broke. Do not gamble. You won't go up big. You will go down bad. But anyways, to the reveals, which is the final part of your heist farm. So we went through the random contracts. Now you're onto the good ones. And lastly, you're going to be doing BPs or blueprints. And in my opinion, the absolute hands down single best BP to do is the gem blueprint, which will give you unusual gems. Now, you will have to almost have a second monitor or alt tab at the end, because there will be wings, and at the end of every wing, sometimes in a BP there could be 4 wings, there'll be 1 to 4. At the end of every one of these wings, we'll have like 6 of these little glass cabinets where you will be able to choose 1 singular item off of them, and these are all going to be unusual gems, or it will be a regrading lens, which is also pretty valuable. So you'll want to just go onto Pewee Ninja, have that open on your second monitor, and check the price of these gems if you're unsure. Now, generally, it's kind of self-explanatory what is and isn't going to be a good gem, but you can always double check, and you can kind of try to get a handle on this and try to start remembering which ones are the good ones. And then you'll kind of see, oh, that build's popular this league, it uses this gem, and that's a good version of this gem. So as an example, there'll be a gem that has a war cry, and its quality will give war cry buff duration or something. All right, that's kind of cool. Maybe somebody would use that. But then you have another gem, inspiration, and the alt quality on this one gives further reduction to the mana cost of linked abilities. Now that can be really useful, right? That can be build creating. Some builds really need that divergent inspiration, or they just won't be able to cast something on malevolence or be able to use their main ability without running out of mana and having to leech. This is very common with stuff like attack builds. So stuff like that's really good. Or like blood rage, anomalous blood rage giving you frenzy charge on hit. That's really good. For some builds, that's the only place they can get frenzy chargers. That's huge. So you'll kind of just get a grasp of things. It can be obvious when something's good or something's bad, but again, just have that second monitor open. Another great strategy, and our 4th strategy, will also require no Atlas passive points at all. As soon as you get your first few chaos, even out of blood aqueducts, you can start doing this. And that is going to be blight maps. Another very contentious, highly criticized mechanic that some people love, some people don't, but it's fine because you're new, so you don't even know that you don't like it yet. So get on and do it. This can be done on any build just by building the correct towers and using the cheap ring anointments. Now, you had to have come in contact with Clarissa to use the anoint system. So you'll have to have find her while leveling, or through, I don't even know if you can find her while leveling anymore, but otherwise you just do random maps or, whatever, and you can start anointing your gear. Now, anoints, they use an oil and they add an enchant to your amulet or your rings. And we care about the ring enchants because you can enchant 2 very good things on your rings, and it's going to make your experience in blight maps so much easier with this strategy. And it doesn't really matter how squishy your build is or how much damage it has, up to a degree in some specific circumstances we'll talk about later. But anyways, the anoints you'll want will be indigo and violet for the meteor tower burning ground. And this is important because there will be a symbol above portals that you'll see when blight stuff is spawning. The fire symbol means it can't take fire damage from fire towers. The cold symbol means no cold damage from the cold towers. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Well, the thing is, this burning ground from the meteor tower, which is the 4th grade to the fire tower, obviously it's a meteor, when it creates this burning ground, the burning ground can still deal damage to the fire immune portals. So the meteor hit doesn't do damage, but the burning ground it leaves afterwards can. And that's PoE, baby. I don't know why it's like that, but goddamn, I love Path of Exile. The burning ground's real nice because if you got no damage on your build, then you've got some damage from your towers. So the second anointment we'll use is the Sepia and Azure on your second ring. And this is for Empower Tower effect. And so now let's talk about the full tower strategy. This will also translate to Blight Ravage maps, but that is not something you should worry about just yet, as those are much more difficult. But right now, all you'll have to do is build chill and stun towers, and you'll upgrade these to tier 3. You won't choose between between that final two options, because both for the chill and stun towers are bad. You'll just want to have tier 3 chill and stun towers. You'll also just want to have tier 3 for your empowering tower. And so you have a chilling tower, which is going to slow monsters, but since they can be immune to the cold by being on that cold portal, by spawning from the cold portal, you'll also want the stun tower. So you have to have them both, right? Because there's nothing that's going to be immune to the chill and stun tower spawning out of the portals, except some arch nemesis modifiers, but we can talk about that in a bit. But you're covering your bases by having both of those towers there, just in case some portals are immune to those effects. And you empower those towers by building that green tower, and everything in its radius is going to be empowered. It's going to be stronger. Your chills will be better. They'll be frozen more. They'll be stunned more. The stuns will be faster. It's much, much better. And then you'll build your meteor tower, which has a very long range somewhere outside of there. And then keep in mind, as a general like tip for this blight stuff, that if you walk too far away from your towers, they'll deactivate. So you kind of just build them close to the pump and make sure you're never traveling more than one screen away from your towers, or they'll deactivate, because that's just how the game works, is, you know, it deactivates everything outside of, you know, X+1 screens away. So you're really going to want to have that meteor tower built eventually, because some arch nemesis mod monsters will be immune to stuns, slows, and all of that stuff. So it'll be important that you have something there to deal damage if your build doesn't do much damage on its own. Anyways, you can let some things through. The bosses generally won't be getting through your chill and stun towers, so it's just going to be like some rare monsters which can get through. You can let a few through and it won't destroy your whole blight map, but that is something that you'll want to keep your eyes out for. And again, you will want a strict filter to hide all the junk, because blight maps have a lot of reward chests. They have a ton of them. You get so much out of them, and that means you get a lot of crap. So you want to filter all that crap out. If you are spending like 4 portals to loot your blight maps, you are probably picking up too much stuff. If you're picking up the absolute bottom barrel oils, you probably don't need to, right? Sepia and clear oils, you probably don't need more than 20 or 30 of those for the whole league, because upgrading them 3 to 1 just isn't really worth it, because there's I think there's like 15 oils. So, you know, doing 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, you're going to need like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the crappiest oils just to get like an okay oil. It's really just not worth it. So you pick up a few of them for a little bit, stricken that filter up, and do a lot better. The next strategy kind of ties in with the blight maps. You know, you're going to get a lot of bubblegum stuff with blight maps, lots of currency. You're going to get stack decks, div cards, just random fossils, just a bunch of random stuff. And you'll also get random jewelry and rare items. And if you're super broke, and I'm talking broke, okay, you can do our 5th strategy, the most forbidden, okay, jutsu. Do not do this unless you are in great peril and in need to save your friend, okay? And this is the chaos recipe. Do not do this unless you absolutely have to. The chaos recipe sounds great. In reality, it is pure pain. Item level 60 to 74 items, unidentified, a full rare set, and this is helmet, weapon, an amulet, a belt, 2 rings, your boots, your body, your gloves. You vendor all of these unidentified rare gear from 60 to 74 item level, and you get 2 chaos orbs. That's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. The general blockage for you being able to do more of these is going to be jewelry. So blight maps will have jewelry reward chests. They could drop a lot of jewelry. If you want, you can kind of do the chaos recipe alongside blight. But yeah, this is going to be like white maps to early yellow maps is when you can do the chaos recipe. Past item level 74, if you have any item level 75 gear in this vendor recipe, it will give you 2 regals, which are worth much less than chaos orbs. This is just real down bad things. So I wouldn't really do this unless you're just like down horrendous, or if you need just a few more chaos for a super key item. It can be pretty handy. Now you can do this with identified rare gear, but if you do it after you ID them, after you ID any one piece, it will only give you a singular chaos orb, which, holy man, now you're doing a really boring thing and you're only getting 1 C out of it. Not worth it. Honestly, God, it's awful, and you probably really don't want to do this, but it's there and you absolutely can for a couple chaos, you know, whenever you need it, if you need it, if you're down that horrendous. Now, we've got a extra one last super duper cool currency strategy you can do, but this is why I didn't really include in the first 5. This is like kind of a strategy you can do if you're stuck in white maps. That's expedition. Now, expedition is really good. I wholeheartedly recommend it to every single player, every single league start. This should be your strategy if you have a decent build. The thing is, if you don't have a decent build, and you're in yellow or red maps trying to do the remnants in those maps, it gets pretty tricky. And the bosses and logbooks, if you're not careful, can get pretty hard. You're gonna get farmed. So in white maps and early yellow maps, it does still require a pretty, you can't just have like a super schmuck build. Like blight maps, dude, whatever. It's all towers. Heist, brother, you're just opening doors, okay? Expedition, those monsters are kind of a pain in the ass. They're gonna have big shields. They're gonna do a crazy like spear move, okay? And then you're probably going to be picking up those random remnants because, like me, you're too stupid to read, and you're just going to pick dumb things that do lots of damage. So you have to have a pretty decent build. Now, if you can do these, oh man, it's so good. All right, you take all the expedition nodes, you start blasting, you're getting logbooks to drop, you start doing some Tujin, and boy, Tujin is your man. He's giving you everything. He gives you literally every single basic currency in the game, and it is so good when you're starting out the league to be able to access Tujin and buy all of his stuff, because now you have all the jewelers, chrome, scour, elk, and vol that you need to progress. There is no, and if you're fusings, you're getting progress towards your 6th link. It's just great. It's great. And he'll give you random divines. He'll just say, hey man, do you want 2 divines? I'll give them to you for 200 made up currency. And you'll say, oh crap, here's my monopoly money. And then he hands you 2 div. It's wild. It's crazy. And he gives a bunch of stacked decks. Also, Rog's really good for gearing, but it's kind of tricky, okay? And I can't tell you how to do Rog. It's like some heart of the card shit, okay? You gotta just feel it. You gotta just know. Go for the suppression gear. That's my tip, okay? And look for good bases to start on. Otherwise, Danning, he's not that bad. Danning is just an extension of Tujin farming, where with Tujin, you're gonna do a logbook, and in the logbook, you look for that blue swirly expedition symbol on the mini map. You look for those, you look for the cave symbol, and most important, you look for the boss symbol, and you do the boss last. And so you'll just go through, get all the swirlies. Those are the artifacts. That's the made up monopoly money that Tujin wants in exchange for currency. So you get all the artifacts. The caves are good because they'll have artifacts in them and other random rewards. And then you do the boss, and the boss will drop you the reroll currencies, which are the exotic coins or the burial medallions for Tujin and Danning. And so with Danning, you use Danning's artifacts to buy Tujin artifacts on sale from Danning. So he'll say, oh, hey man, I'll sell you some of Tujin's artifacts at a ratio of 0.8 or 0.6 to mine. And you'll say, oh shit, dude, I just got them for 20 or 40% off. That's sick. And he'll also give you random logbooks and reroll currencies. So Danning is just, he's just a Tujin farm, except, it takes like one extra step in between. You're going like through a middleman. But yeah, Expedition, it's great. It's baller. It's really good. I highly recommend, if you can handle it, to do it, as most builds that are okay and decent can do Expedition. It doesn't, like Legion requires, like, you really want projectiles, you want ignite, whatever, you want some explosion stuff. Expedition, I mean, you can kind of just set it up, make it as easy as you need to, and you don't have to like clear it within whatever seconds. I mean, you should be able to clear it as the remnants explode and as your plungers go off. That should be pretty free, especially if you take that 30% slower or whatever it is, 20% culling, the 20% expedition culling node. But yeah, those are the 5, kind of 6 strategies you can use to make currency in white maps if you got baited by a crap build, or you're trying to play a juicer build just a little bit early and you can't make it to red maps and you're kind of in that weird depression where you're like, oh man, what am I? Okay, anyways, that's what it is. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on my live stream, and good luck. Okay, good luck.